Does this feel good?
Does what feel good?
Your life.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Priority Holder, and today we're playing Colorless Superfriends once again in the Timeless format. Now this is a deck I've played a handful of times, and if you're unfamiliar with it, check out the video where I play it for the qualifier play and I describe in detail what it does. What I'm going to do here is just describe the updates that I've made in the meantime. So viewers of my previous Color Superfriends videos have tried out the deck and had a lot of great ideas, including possibly trying out Breaker of Creation, which is another thing you could tuck under Labyrinth, and that is just an absolute crazy stabilizer with how much life it can gain and like a really strong closer. So I figured out like it was worth a try. Another idea was that you could run Toxic Deluge to try and shore up your early game against aggro. Now we're running naturally a bunch of filtering lands like Conduit Pylons and Crystal Grotto, and that basically the idea is that it's worth paying 4 mana for this effect to like stabilize. Not only that, but that we can recoup the life with a Forsaken Monument. So it doesn't look like we have that many black sources, and if you throw a swamp in there, it gives you a little bit better mileage against stuff like Assassin's Trophy. The only other small change is an unlicensed hearse is a little bit more graveyard hate and something just to sort of do in the mid game as part of Karn's Wishboard. So let's jump to some games. This is definitely, it's a reasonable hand. Don't have anything to tuck under Labyrinth, which is a little annoying. Always have to worry when you're playing a Lurrus deck also. So already just from their turn 1 with Sigarda's Aid and Ornithopter, it's clear we're playing against Hammer Time. And for those unfamiliar, what they're trying to do is stick a Colossus Hammer onto something by like cheating the equip cost, which Sigarda's Aid allows you to do. Alright, Retrofit of Foundry from them, they pass. Holding off on Ugin's Labyrinth because I'm waiting to like find a big enough card to tuck under it and maybe accelerate. And there is a Devourer, so we don't plan on casting anytime soon, but that'll vault us up to 4 mana if we keep it on top to tuck under the Labyrinth. So, and this is a nifty little thing right here. So Retrofit allows them to sacrifice Ornithopter and upgrade it right away into a 4/4. I'm not going to mess around because they might be running like protection spells and stuff like that, so I'm going to go ahead and Kozilek's command. Thankfully it has 0 mana value, so we can draw our card and get rid of their creature. And you gotta remember that for the card draw mode, X only controls how much you scry. So that was like a scry 0 draw 1 for us. Alright, no plays from them. A little bit of reprieve. Okay, so we drew an Ugin's Labyrinth. And we're definitely gonna tuck Devourer and try and decide what to do. So Retrofitter can make a creature end of turn. The opponent plays Thalia. So I wanted to hold up Kozilek's command just because we could still very easily run into trouble with the Colossus Hammer. So this is still on our end step, but Thalia is just way too dangerous to leave around. Like it keeps growing. There's so much things it can do. I'm not entirely sure what it can do, but I respect Thalia enough to take it out right here and decide to make some Scions to maybe try and turbo our mana production. So once again, this is on our end step, so now the opponent's going to untap. Really didn't want them to untap with the creature in play if I could help it. Alright, Mutavault, and the opponent just passes. Okay. Now they do have Retrofitter active, so... And... yeah, gonna go ahead and lead with the Crystal Grotto to scry. Now we don't need any more lands, but Blast Zone is like insanely good. I mean, just it comes in with 1 counter already, so if we crack Blast Zone right away, it kills all their stuff in currently play. I want to get Forsaken Monument in play. Have to sacrifice the Eldrazi spawn first in order to make sure there's enough mana for Karn. And we're going to play Karn the Great Creator. Alright, so opponent activating Mutavault. And this is a nifty little play. So Mutavault is also a Thopter, so they're upgrading it into a 4/4. Flashing an Lion's Sash, and they're going to opt to not equip it. So they needed to do all that in response to Karn because, well, at least they needed to do Retrofitter because Karn stops activated abilities of artifacts. So the question is what to choose, and I actually agonized over this choice for a while before finally choosing Cityscape Leveler, just to start interacting with their stuff. Now the thing is, we're very good at dealing with colorless things with Ugin, the Spirit Dragon's minus, and like Devourer of Destiny, but they actually have many colorless permanents which are problematic for us. So that's why I grabbed Cityscape Levelers, because we can actually cast it and we can start attacking their stuff. Now the problem with that is that they have Loris in hand ready to just rebuy their stuff. So, but still seems pretty good to get a 8/8, which will be a 10/10 onto the battlefield. So cast Cityscape Leveler, and I'm gonna blow up Sigarda's Aid because that's the most dangerous thing. Like we can deal with the Retrofitter given enough time, but Sigarda's Aid what makes the hammers really dangerous for us. So, and of course they had another one. So waiting to see. All right, and the opponent's sending in with both. This is a pretty bad sign. This basically, unless it's some sort of crazy bluff, like it basically is guaranteed that they have a hammer in hand. So it doesn't matter where we block because the hammer is going to make either of their creatures outgrow our leveler. So bracing for impact right here, and they have the hammer. Okay, so Sigarda's Aid is crazy. So it's going to allow an auto equip. You know, flash it in, auto equip, and now they have a 14/14 bearing down on our creatures. So they take care of our leveler. And we have Toxic Deluge, we have Blast Zone up. I decide, so I'm going to speed through the auto tapping for a second because I want to make sure it's not messing up. Anyway, there's a lot of things, like we might want to return Devourer to hand, might want to activate Mutavault, so I had to really be careful with the auto tapper. So using Blast Zone to take out Sigarda's Aid and the hammer and Retrofitter, so feeling pretty good about that. And then we could still unearth Cityscape Leveler, which can attack, and we're just going to blow up the 4/4 with it. So ding the opponent for 10, but that means the leveler's gone. So the opponent does have Loris though, so like they can start bringing back their, you know, any of their things in the graveyard if they can find a land. Now this is a card I was not familiar with, Kemba's Outfitter. Basically it comes with some different options, but they decided to choose an equipment in their hand and perpetually give it Equip 1. So now, right after we pop the Blast Zone, the opponent now has an Equip 1 Colossus Hammer. So they're just going to nuke some things from our graveyard. So things quickly gotten out of control, so they're just going to casually attack us for 14 right here. Ugin the Spirit Dragon. And so this is a tough spot. We literally can't Toxic Deluge away the thing wearing the hammer. So I'm trying to figure out how to handle this. Obviously going to play a land and going to hold off on the Ugin's Labyrinth for now. So I'm trying to think ahead how the next few turns are going to go. And going to do some auto tapping right here to make sure it doesn't I want to keep Mutavault up is the main thing. So I'm gonna slam Ugin the Spirit Dragon, gain a little bit of life, and decide the best course of action is to do a minus to get rid of their colored permanents. So that's gonna take care of the Lion Sash and the Outfitter. So I'm just making sure the mana value is right. And the opponent still is left with an 11/11, but we have Mutavault to block. So let's see who the opponent could try and go for the kill or attack Ugin. Alright, so they decide to attack Ugin. And really thought long and hard about this because like how am I gonna kill that creature? And I realized the best way to probably kill that creature is to plus Ugin to deal 3 to it, and then Toxic Deluge for 8 to take it the rest of the way down. So throwing Mutavault under the bus right here just to save Ugin. Alright, the opponent has Loris, and let's see what they do. Alright, so they play a Retrofitter, and they play an Ornithopter from hand. Which is honestly like pretty ideal for us, so I'm just making sure I have it all accounted for right here. So what we're going to do is plus Ugin to deal 3 to the 11/11, and that's going to allow us to actually Toxic Deluge everything away. So we're going to start with that. Note the opponent does have like Retrofitter Foundry open, but it's not going to matter. Like if they try and sacrifice the Ornithopter into like a golem, it's just going to die from the deluge. So just playing it cautious here to make sure I'm not, and once again the auto tapper was going to ruin our life right there. I decided just to quit playing around. I'm just going to bring the Devourer to hand right here, just so the auto tapper can't mess me up. This is a small mistake right here. I should have just played this swamp, that we didn't have to filter mana. Not only that, but I almost timed myself out, so that was fortunate we were able to get this off. So, okay, so we go to 2 life, and pass to them. So they have Retrofitter, and they drew a new Ornithopter, which they can now equip up with Colossus Hammer. So still facing a 10 power creature, and once again it is colorless, so Devourer doesn't do anything to it, but that was like an amazingly clutch draw right there. So we drew Karn the Great Creator. So we're gonna uptick Ugin, and the nice thing about Karn is it's gonna allow us to pull something from our sideboard slash wishboard right now. Not to mention it's going to shut down Retrofitter. So yeah, so the opponent's gonna use it ahead of time, making a little artifact. But we have the perfect answer to this. So we have Ratchet Bomb. So we're going to pull Ratchet Bomb, and this is all getting us life, by the way. This is really fortunate. I'm just going to crack Ratchet Bomb right away. It has 0 counters on it, so it's going to destroy all mana value 0 things, which includes Ornithopter and their tokens. Now we're cruising, so I'm not going to stick anything under the Labyrinth. We're going to slam Devourer just to like put a game-ending threat into play. And the opponent can't activate Retrofitter because of Karn, and they pack it in. So if you enjoy saying stop to hammer time, please Swashbucklers lip the 2 mana value option, the like button, and we're on to the next one. That was a mouthful, sort of fumbled that one. This hand, no companion information to like inform the mulligan, but it's like, yeah, we have a 1 ring, we have Kozilek's command. Alright, so just fetch land pass from the opponent. Just gonna go ahead and slam a Conduit Pylons. Once again, would love to find something to tuck under Labyrinth. Mutavault, don't really need that. We have enough lands to play our 4s right now, so looking for something more impactful. Alright, a red-white land from the opponent. But they don't have a Gigantha or Lurrus Companion, so it doesn't... You know, it could be energy, but it seems unlikely. So we do draw something to tuck under Labyrinth, so I'm going to go ahead and attempt that right now. And that's... I still fear like Thoughtseize or something, so that's why I'm trying to do it right away instead of like surprising them on the next turn. But the opponent actually stifles the trigger on Labyrinth. And I gotta say, pretty shocked to see that happen. I mean, we're, you know, still doing decent with our mana, but was not expecting that to happen. And we draw another Ugin the Spirit Dragon, so really not sure what we're up against at this point in time. Like, they're rocking Stifled, so it does not appear to be energy. They'd already be on board right now, so it's something else. Alright. Just gonna play this right now. Hoping to bait a counter right here. If not, we'll just advance our mana production and get a card. So you're gonna fire off a Kozilek's command right here, and the opponent counter spells it. So they're out of blue mana, and honestly, like, really happy to see that, because the 1 ring is like what we really want to resolve. We don't really care about Kozilek's command. So successfully baited the counter out of their hand and resolved the 1 ring. And this is like, when you're battling control decks, if you can resolve a 1 ring, like, it's basically lights out, because they won't be able to have enough counters to keep up with all of the threats. So the opponent missed a land drop last turn also, so don't have to worry about Bowmasters with the colors they have right now. So going to activate Ring, and our mana production's like sort of limited right now. Alright, so opponent's going to flash in a Doorkeeper Thrall. So now it makes sense. So that's a creature that negates abilities of things entering the battlefield. And so I've seen people pair this with like the Titans, for example, and other tricky things that have like negative enter the battlefield abilities. So that's why the Stifle is in there also, to help them have another means of negating certain triggers, like Uro's like Sacrifice trigger, for example. Doesn't seem like we need the Mana Rock, and we can't effectively empty our hand. We have 3 Ugins right now, so we're going to ditch one of the Ugins. So feeling pretty decent right now with an active One Ring and Karn already in play. Alright, so the opponent is going to Galvanic Discharge Karn down right here. Alright, that's not the end of the world. Wanted a second Forsaken Monument to like battle through their counters. That's why I grabbed that last time with Karn. Go ahead and play the Swamp. Honestly, I should have activated the One Ring first in case we drew like another Labyrinth. So that was a little misplay right there, sequencing. But going to try and slam a Forsaken Monument, and the opponent does not have the counter. So that's going to allow us to play a Guardian Idol right away and really start accelerating our mana production. At the discard again. Deciding what to get rid of. Probably one of the lands, so surely draw some more off One Ring next turn. Keeping the Blast Zone just in case. Okay, so here's the whole Stifle thing. So they don't get the Lightning Helix off Flage, but they don't have to sacrifice it either. Now, next turn, they can just attack freely with Flage and get the Lightning Helix. So, at least that's what they wanted to do. We're going to put an end to that. Alright, so even if the opponent had Spell Pierce here, we had like a ton of mana, so like... so yeah, the opponent's going to Brainstorm in response, but it's looking pretty bad. Ugin is very good against Flage because he's going to exile Flage. So we just got to make sure we do the right amount. X equals 3. So we're taking their Enabler and one of their payoffs away. And just have a lot going on right now. And yeah, the opponent just packs it in. So we're going to activate the One Ring right there, but that was enough for them, and we move on to the next game. Kept this hand off the strength of Devourer to try and find something. Though against a Lurrus deck, like, I decided to keep the One Ring, but you know, you really want Chalice, so maybe that was the wrong call. But you know, maybe it was just frankly too ambitious to keep this hand with like 2 uncastable cards in it. So. Alright, opponent is going to bobble us. Now they're going to discover what we kept on top. And let's see what happens. Alright, they're going to Brainstorm. So the opponent is going to fire that off. Put a couple cards back. And they know what's up now. So they know the One Ring's coming. They get their extra card. Definitely going to start using our Scrylands. Breaker, yeah, we don't need that right now, so definitely bottoming that. And that exact reason is why I prefer to run as many Scrylands as possible, since as configured right now we have no graveyard value, and like dumping that, like if that was a Surveil and dumping that in the graveyard, like the opponent just reanimated that would be just game over. So that's why I prefer as many Scry effects instead of Surveil in this deck particularly. So now this is pretty rough right here because opponents just turn 2 Tamiyo into Brainstorm, which is going to flip Tamiyo. We have just nothing going on. Alright, so the opponent gets to flip Tamiyo, and they're going to tick it up. Now, I don't really have anything else to do here, and presumably we're playing against like the like Psychic Frog kind of Lurrus deck right now. And so I opt to just attack Tamiyo with Mutavault, though I think I really maybe should have held up Kozilek's command instead, because so the opponent used Tamiyo's uptick, so it's going to only be able to attack for 1 anyway. And the other reason is that if we resolve a Kozilek's command, we could just make some Eldrazi spawns to try and vault our mana production, help us double spell or single spell maybe even. So let's see what the opponent does. And they know we have a One Ring, so the opponent's trying to figure out what to do. And they're just going to go ahead and play Bowmasters. And they're going to pass to us. So, like I said, I think it would have been way better to just fire off a Kozilek's command at the end of that turn. So, going to play Ugin's Labyrinth. I'm going to tuck Devourer. Basically, I have ambitions of slamming Ugin and like finishing him off, but the thing is, Devourer is easier to cast, and it has a cast trigger, so if even if they try to mana drain it, like, we still can get rid of something. So I think it might have been better to tuck Ugin right there. So that's another little mistake, but gonna go ahead and just activate the one. We have ring protection right now, so the opponent knows that damage doesn't kill creatures, state-based actions do. So they're gonna target their own orc army, and we're gonna pass. Now we can like actually just chain one rings for a little bit here, but alright, there's a Psychic Frog. And they're gonna uptick Tamiyo. Now, I've battled against Tamiyo a little bit, but Tamiyo is just insane. Like, it's a 1-mana planeswalker that can get to its ultimate like ridiculously fast, and it has like a really, really strong ultimate. So now it's like basically 100% certain the opponent has a counterspell here. So we gotta figure out what to do. Toxic Deluge would be great. Here's the problem though, we don't have enough mana to both One Ring and Toxic Deluge, or Kozilek's command and Toxic Deluge. And it's dangerous to activate the ring right now with Bowmasters. So it's basically like a really tough situation because the opponent, I hadn't seen this interaction before, but this is insanely strong. So Tamiyo's ultimate draws half your deck, and you have no maximum hand size. And you might be seeing it right now, is that's really strong when you have a Psychic Frog in play, because then you can just make it basically arbitrarily huge and give it flying for good measure. I thought about attempting to Kozilek's command and respond, like, you know. Anyway, yeah, it was just a tough spot. I think we were basically like 1 mana short of being able to like double spell to get rid of enough things to survive the Tamiyo ultimate. So the opponent's firing off a Thoughtseize, and I'm gonna go ahead and Kozilek's command here to attempt to get rid of the frog, but we know they have a counterspell. It was probably better to make them have it before the Tamiyo draw, because now they like are guaranteed to have a counterspell. They might not have had one before drawing like 30 cards, you know. So that was another mistake, is they should have done it in response to the draw, because maybe they were holding up another Bowmasters or something like that. So yeah, so there's the mana drain, and even if we draw off the One Ring, we are just toast. So gonna go ahead and just pack it in right here. Oh, pump fake. Due diligence to see if we draw like a Kozilek's command, but like we don't have enough mana to actually do anything. So yeah, that is it. And so that is tough. So that is a deck that I think we could be good against, but currently struggle because Bowmasters is really strong against us and Psychic Frog is really good. And they have like just enough counters that, you know, you saw like they were able to ultimate a Planeswalker like insanely quick and like just end the game on like turn 5, you know. So that's like a really tough matchup. Now going second against Wild Nikado on a mulligan doesn't feel amazing. So binning all those cards, needing like a Chalice or something. So Ugin's Labyrinth is a start. I don't think Domain typically runs like hand disruption, but I'm going to go ahead and just tuck the Devourer under Ugin's Labyrinth right away, just in case. But like I said, Domain typically doesn't run hand disruption. Alright, so they got the Nikado up to 3 power, and they're attacking us. And Territorial Kavu is already a 4/4, so it's looking pretty bleak right now. We're just drawing lands. Crystal Grotto. Chalice is frankly too little too late at this point in time. Like, it can be good against them, but we're just about to die anyway. So I think about it for a while and ultimately put it on the bottom, because we need a One Ring basically. to start getting back into this game. So it's already looking really tough. I mean, this is what can happen. The opponent can just shell out tons of damage, and like we just are a little slow, like don't have any, like if we had a Kozilek's command, could exile the Wild Nacatl, make an Eldrazi spawn, block the copy, like, you know, could really buy some time with that. So it makes me wonder, and then there's 5 power and a Shoba Brawler. Makes me wonder if the deck is currently kitted too much towards like late game grindfest, that like, if it needs a little bit more ways to deal with aggressive starts like this, or like energy decks. So yeah, we're already dead. The opponent has 13 power on board, so that was a tough one. So we're jumping into the next game. So yeah, so I am in an attempt to battle that. I'm putting, you know, there's these 2 Toxic Deluges. Devourer, boy, it's just a really horrible Devourer hit. So gonna bin all of those and hope to find something better. I mean, at least we got like a reasonable like Scry 4 of a bunch of cards that would have been useless. So don't love the start right now, especially Gigantha Companion often means energy. But we have a Toxic Deluge, so like that's something to feel good about. Alright, Ocelot Pride. Conduit Pylons. Really would like the card selection right now, so gonna use that. Chalice, I'm gonna keep that because it's still early enough in the game that that'll be like really potent against energy. Amped Raptor into Guide of Souls. This is why energy is so strong. Like they're already going off right now. It's amazing how strong that deck is. Now, this is like a major inflection point in this game right here. The question is, so we could, I guess we could slam Karn, slam Toxic Deluge, or play Chalice. And I was thinking about it, and like, okay, like if I let them have one more turn with their stuff in play, like it shouldn't have to Deluge for that much in order to clean it up. Like they'll probably get enough counters to use Guide of Souls, but it still shouldn't be too bad. But if I Chalice on 1 right now can really interrupt their possible plays, like no more Ocelot Prides, no more Guide of Souls, no what's their enchantment that has energy? Anyway, that was the rationale. So the opponent slams an Amped Raptor, gonna trigger Guide of Souls, and waiting to see what they hit. And they hit a Goblin Bombardment, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, like that was basically the best card they could have hit right there. Like obviously if they had a 1-drop, then they couldn't have even cast it. It would have just got countered by Chalice. Like even like on a Johnny, wouldn't have cared about that because we had Toxic Deluge. So nightmare scenario that they hit Goblin Bombardment, because we're taking a huge hit and the opponent can just toss all the stuff at our face, especially now that they have City's Blessing for like Ocelot Pride. So that was just incredibly unfortunate, because now, and of course it didn't draw land, now when we Toxic Deluge, so we have to do it for 3 in order to pick everything up. But now the opponent can just nuke us with all the, you know, with Goblin Bombardment. So I'm going to accelerate through this because it just takes a little while to get through. But yeah, it's just, they hit the perfect card in that situation. It's painful because I think it would have been a good, you know, so in hindsight, it would have been better to fire off the Deluge earlier. But who knows, maybe like, you know, the opponent would have made a different play and our lives would be miserable in a different way. So here comes Flage, and I'm about to concede, but the opponent actually forgets to hold full control and doesn't get to ding us with Goblin Bombardment. So they attempt to finish us with the Lightning Bolt that gets countered by Chalice, and we're at 1 life. Now Phage can already escape. I checked their graveyard, they have plenty of cards. Radiant Fountain seems like it's going to be essential right now. But we actually have tools for that. We can play Karn the Great Creator, minus it, and grab Tormod's Crypt right now, and nuke their graveyard. So basically, if the opponent doesn't have a creature for 1 turn, we might be able to turn this around. So we nuke the graveyard, there goes Flage, and I'm just like, please, like, so the opponent made like a mistake right there. Like, they're giving us a small window. So I'm hoping, and no, there's another Flage. This time they hold full control to get the Goblin Bombardment trigger. So yeah, so this one was really tough. I think there might have been a way with those exact cards that I had with better decisions to actually win. But once again, I think the deck just needs to be kitted a little bit better towards aggression. So, turn 1. Grief from the opponent, hoping that we're not getting scammed. We do have 2 Devourers at the ready. So you're taking Ugin. Bracing for Reanimate, but the opponent doesn't have it. Alright, so double Devourers, going to grab an Ugin's Labyrinth. This seems like the most powerful play. And doesn't feel good to get rid of all of our Ugin's Labyrinths, or most of them, but at least we have one to start the game with. Alright, so I'm going to tuck a Devourer under there. Against hand disruption, want to do that right away so we don't run out of things to stick under Labyrinth. Alright, so opponent passes. And, you know, I'm thinking, alright, is this Bowmasters? I mean, the opponent did mulligan, so maybe they don't have like a lot of good options right here. But anyway, as we prepare to slam the One Ring, just wanted to ask, what do you think about me posting videos of like quote-unquote like older builds? So like, I have some footage from playing Colorless Superfriends that's like basically the same configuration I had it for like the qualifier. So it's like technically like obsolete because I've moved on to playing a different build, but they're like the games themselves are super entertaining. So would you be interested in something like that? Let me know in the comments. Alright, so the opponent must be cursing their draw right now. They drew Orcish Bowmasters like one turn too late to punish us for our One Ring. Now, what to do? So fortunately, our mana is, you know, we're accelerating quite nicely. So we can slam a Guardian Idol, hold up Mutavault and Guardian Idol as blockers, and just hold off on the One Ring for now. We'll have enough land drops to eventually play Devourer to get rid of Bowmasters, but that was before Grief. So now I'm checking the cards they pitched to make sure I can see what's going on. So there goes Devourer of Destiny. Now we do have a spare one under our Ugin's Labyrinth, but that's just going to slow down our ability to cast it. So, alright, opponent is going to slam Liliana of the Veil. Once again, we don't really care so much about that. Like, we just need to hit some land drops, and we'll be able to cast Devourer pretty soon. So,
I'm tired of your secrets.
Feeling pretty good. Alright, so we just discard a random land, and the opponent must not have noticed all these creature things we have. So they tack in with Bowmasters, and so that's just like a game-losing error. I think we are still in a pretty strong position, but now that we can activate One Ring, that's game over right here. So, and the opponent had like I said, a tough draw. They mulliganed and they didn't end up with any scam. So like they're pitch casting Grief, but never like was able to scam it. So like they're just really behind a material right now. But that mistake they made just sort of accelerated their demise. So just making sure to play through everything carefully. And we ended up drawing another Devourer, so it's just gonna hard cast that and take down Liliana. And this game will be over very shortly, and the opponent packs it in. So it was interesting to see how the new cards performed. So Toxic Deluge definitely showed its value in some of those games. Even ones that we lost, like you could see how strong it was, like keeping us in the game. And honestly, makes me wonder if we should actually be running 4 of these. Maybe up the filter lands a little bit to get a little more consistent mana. But especially the fact that we can pour a bunch of life into it, gain it back with Forsaken Monument, like just allows us to survive games we wouldn't be able to otherwise. Like, you know, with only 3 copies of the One Ring and virtual 4 more, just helps having something that like helps you stay alive. I didn't get to see Breaker Creation in action, but you can imagine how potent it'd be as both stabilizer and a closer. So we'll have to see. Like, you know, the interesting thing is there's a lot of configurations. You can change how you build it to suit your play style. Trying out a couple Cavern of Souls now that we have like a higher Eldrazi count to try and like battle against the control decks, but honestly, like sticking a One Ring against control is like usually good enough. So because taking, you have to cut somewhere. So I ended up cutting like some blast zones to get some caverns in there. But there are a bunch of games where blast zones are like really, really good. So it really depends on what you're looking for. But yeah, I'm curious to see in the comments what has worked for you. What is your build? What does your build look like right now? So, anyways, that's the deck. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see even more nonsense, please consider subscribing. And if you're already subscribed, thank you for your support. Your engagement with the channel helps me know what the people want. Thank you.